In this video, I'm going to show you a couple of ideas for making a lighthouse scene and some new ways of using the birch wood stamps. I want my lighthouse to sit on the rocks. I'm using that large area which initially is supposed to be a knothole in the wood, or maybe where a branch broke off. I used the same color theme from my last video and decided to make oval overlapping frames. I used each one of the cutters to make different size frame openings. I find the best position to place my lighthouse. Then I trace around the frame with the pencil to know where I need to cut my paper. I also glued the cutouts together to be used in another card later on. I like to use up all my papers without leaving any leftover scraps from each project. I'm coloring it with a dark brown marker. I tried using a lighter, more golden color, but it still turned out pretty dark because of the blue color ink that's already on the paper, which is fine for the rocks to be dark. Most of it will be hidden by the frame anyhow. I needed to darken the rocks at the base of the lighthouse so that it would match the dark rocks on the ocean backdrop. Now it's time for assembly. I want to make sure I place my lighthouse perfectly before gluing the frame down. It just needs a sentiment and a little embellishment. So I used this rope knot cut out from the set, as the same set as the lighthouse dies. The sentiment also comes from the same set. Now I want to show you another way to use this backdrop. I have a previous video that shows how I created this backdrop. This part right here was created with this stamp, and this right here is what I'm going to focus on right now. I want to do something because as I was looking at that, I am seeing a rock formation. I'm going to use some brown paper and some early espresso or dark brown ink, and I want to ink this part right here. I don't care about the rest of that, but it's this part that I want, what I want for the rocks. And I am going to cut this out just so I can have the rock formation. I'll keep a little bit of this light color on top as a level ground. Okay, so I've cut out the part that I want. And I'm going to place that right here. But before I do, I'm going to put some color on that. The top, I'm going to add some light color because the sun is likely to hit it. I know that may be a little bit too yellow. Maybe any place where there's the top of a rock. Just that. And this one is a little bit darker. Just add a little dimension. And then some darker shadows, cracks in the rock. Probably shouldn't be coloring on this mat. I should color here. That way I can actually wash it off easy enough. This is a tile, a floor tile actually, that I decided to put on my desk. That way I can have a place that's non-reflective in the camera, so it doesn't reflect any light shining on it. And I can wash those marks off. I like to work with glass, but the problem with glass is it reflects everything. Okay. And you can even add different colors. You could add some reds. I think I will do that. I think I'll throw in some, it's not actually red, it's more of a rust color. What's its actual color? Cajun Craze. It's sort of a brownish red, because a lot of times you have those reddish colors in the rocks. Just put a little bit of that in there. Well, I'll have to hide that. So that's going to fit right there. There's one thing missing. I would like to have a little bit of white edge of the waves right in there. What I'll do is I'll trace the bottom of this so I have its shape with pencil, because I want to make it a little bigger. Let's see how that looks. And if any of the rocks show up at the bottom, I can always cut it off. Okay, we have rocks with waves sort of crashing up against it, and that will go right here. So I'll glue that on, and that'll give me a place to put the lighthouse. You can add just a few little highlights around here, just a little bit, and like tops of waves, just for a little bit more action and excitement in the water. So that gives us some nice ground. Looks pretty realistic, and I got a boo-boo there, but that's okay. I'll hide it with a lighthouse. Okay, because I don't want my lighthouse to be too dark, because this part of it is white. I'm actually going to print it with a very light gray, smoky slate. I like that. That way it keeps this part of it very light. Black would be too dark to use for that print. Okay, now we need to pull out our markers to color the lighthouse. I want to make this part the darkest part of the lighthouse. So I'm actually fill in this whole section. It's going to be a shadow under this edge. I'm going to switch to the thin side of the marker. And in this section, I will just put some streaks or allow some white to shine through. I want to make sure there's a distinction. So I'm going to use pink side. We want even less color. For this top part, shadows under here, this is white, but it's going to have some shadow. This is a very light color, but I want to darken this section, just make it a little bit darker, and I think I'll leave the rest of it just as it is. Now we finish it off with black. I'm just going to copy what's here. If I had printed it in black, yes, this part would be black, but then this would also be black, and I didn't want that to be black. That's why I printed it with gray. I am going to ignore the rocks because I'm going to just cut out the lighthouse. Well, I'm going to cut it out with this, I think, and then I will cut off the rocks, so I could just set it right there. So I used my die cut to cut it out. You can see why I don't want the rocks. I'm just going to cut those rocks off so that I can set that right on the rocks. That way I can hide my boo-boo there. But what I don't like here is this extra white line around it. So I am going to trim it a little closer. I think I might keep it at the top. Might be okay because it gives a little contrast with the sky, but that will work. And I like the lighthouse slightly to the right. I don't think you should ever put anything directly in the middle. Bullseye, that's bad composition. It's always better to be to the left or to the right, or a little higher or a little lower, but never bullseye. And I'm happy with it. In my next video, I'm going to show you how to make a sunset ocean scene using the same birch stamp and another way to use the die cuts to make the boats. So please subscribe so that you'll be notified when that video comes out. Thanks for watching.